Don't be showing no love to Sweet Berry. Hell no. What's the motherfucking deal? Welcome to the den. Glad that you could join me this evening. It is Friday. I see the stream is already trying to do some janky shit. Ain't even done nothing yet. Ain't that terrible? Terrible stuff. Wow. I mean, we just starting off that bad? Are we just gonna act like that on the stream tonight? This is terrible. I mean, this is really bad. We're gonna see how this acts. If it's just gonna act like that, I mean, well, goddamn. All right, we might be all right now. So tonight, Friday usually we do the talking dirty after dark, and tonight, well, I guess we're talking dirty, and still kind of gets to keep the normal theme. But I want to talk about sex workers tonight. And if you're not familiar with the den, and I'm sure it didn't, send out a lot of notifications. It is what it is. Even though I was kind of early today with the posting, a little bit, not too early. But I was on time. It wasn't last minute. But let's see, there you go. Stop being janky. I see you trying to jank it up. But let's get the proper protocols going, and then shout out to 335. Got 5,000 pistachios coming your way shortly. At Honcho HTX, you can follow my personal social medias if you want to go there. It's all good. But I see my name. I see Culture. I see Danny B. Moore. I see it.The, I see Class of 2003. I see Miss Bell. I see Brandon 335. And I see Miss Sourberry. Hope you're all having a good evening tonight. But like I say, sex work was a topic we had a while back. But I don't know if my opinions have necessarily changed on the topic. And I don't think it was even bad back then. I have to go back and look at that old Kush Den and see. But, and remember, for those of you who are interested in gaining access to the old Kush Den videos, make sure you are around Monday. Monday, I will let you know what you can do to get access to all of those videos, so you can, it won't make you a triple OG, but it'll give you a little bit of clout, that then you'll be able to catch some of the old jokes and some of the old shit that kind of went down in the den as it has developed. And funny, that song is called Bring 'Em Out. Where them hoes at? Bring 'em out. Let them hoes go. Bring 'em out. And I guess, I don't know. Hoes, sex workers. We were kind of talking about this at the end of the stream earlier today. But is sex work really work? And that's kind of the conversation we want to figure out. That's what we want to get into. That's what we want to find out. And I see Ms. B. Moore says, yes, hell yes, it's work. And, I would say I guess it is work. If you're a woman, you got to sleep with dirty old dudes unless you got some kind of daddy fetish. I guess you're kind of doing a job. Maybe they call it head blowjobs for a reason. It's a job, a hand job, I guess. Is it work? I don't know. Is it the same as folding clothes at fucking Macy's or some shit? I don't fucking know. All right, Ruby Roo, what's the motherfucking deal? So it's like, I guess you have to give credit where credit is due in a sense. Beyond a funny nigga, what's the motherfucking deal? But I want to talk about different aspects. I want to talk about different elements. So then we'll open up the line, and we will talk about it. We'll get your opinions on it. Do you think it should be legalized? I mean, like I said, there's a lot to talk about. Let's start off with the legality of it, right? I'm not opposed to it. I think it should be legalized for safety and sanitary reasons. And the reason why I feel like that is because I think that it should be legalized and licensed. See that? There you go. I've been saying magic words. I guess the stream ain't gonna like me tonight. I think it should be legalized, and I think it should be licensed. And I say that in an effort to help not only Johns, I guess, but I guess you would say You know, you got a lot of cases of human trafficking and things of that nature, right? And I think if you would require these women or whomever, whoever wants to get into the profession, to be licensed, to be tested, I don't know if there's an accreditation, maybe basic skills and technique, basic cleanliness, hygiene, things of that nature, I guess. That it would be safer for everybody all around. You know, you have cases of theft. You hear stories of, it was a guy who went on a date. And I don't know if that was necessarily a sex worker, but it was a chick he went on a date with. He got roofied and, you know, basically got robbed for, I think he said he got robbed for a bunch of nice jewelry. So he offered like a $10,000 reward for whoever could find the woman. So you think it makes it that much harder to find the bad apples, the bad peaches? I like peaches. I like nice peaches. Hey. So that's tough. That's tough. So that's actually a very interesting perspective, though. But like I say, you know, you go out and I think your average person who's not trying to just do some type of disgusting activity will engage in it. I mean, I think that they would support. If they felt like, hey, I'm not going to get busted. I'm not going to get caught up in a sting. I'm not going to get caught up in some shit where my whole livelihood could get destroyed because of, you know, me want to go out and explore the freaky side, I guess. You know, I think that kind of balances out some things. I think that it would be more people doing it. I think, again, and we've talked about the thing with rape, and I kind of feel two different ways about this, because I think rapists are of a mentality. I don't think rape is just about sex, so I don't think that it's necessarily going to curtail a lot of the cases that involve rape. But I think that those people who are having sexual frustrations, there's a lot of men these days who are having some form of sexual frustration and they're angry at women because of it. I think if you legalize it and you erase some of that stigma that's attached to it, cool. And when I'm talking about sex work, I'm not necessarily talking about direct prostitution. So I'm talking about, you know, like the people who do webcam shows, people who do various other things, you know what I mean, that are involved in promoting some form of sexual activity. Strippers, I would consider that a sex worker, even though, you know, for the most part, that's legalized. I'm sure it's classified under something else. But I think that these things should be licensed and taxed, you know, and so, because there's some strippers out there. The thing about the stripping is you got a lot of them that glorify. They'll show you them nights that they make a couple of $1,000s. They just have a ball. But a lot of them motherfuckers go home just as broke as they came to the club, and they still got to tip out, and they still got to pay money to the club. They got to break a little bread to the DJ. You know, it's a lot of little things that's going with it. So a lot of people see that stripping, and, oh, they making bank and bank. Not always. Okay, not always. Sometimes I've seen, won't say I was there. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. But I've seen strippers go on stage and do a whole dance and maybe not make any money, you know, honestly. You know, they may do 2 or 3 dances that evening, then later on they may make some, you know, early on they may not. So it's not always money reigning in the club. But I personally think that it just should be legalized to minimize some of the, because sometimes it's just convenient to pay for it, because you got to pay for it anyway. You got to spend time, you got to go on dates, and let's be honest, most men don't want to do all that. They want to get straight to the action. And so if you say, hey, look, let me forego all this unnecessary stuff. Here is, depending on whatever the going rate is, Robert Kraft, $59.99, I think is the tug job rate. You pay whatever the going rate is, you go in, you do your little business, and you get gone, you know? As opposed to your average man probably spending 20, 30 minutes, maybe to an hour or whatever, as opposed to, you know, dinner, phone conversation, all that other stuff that goes with it. That's several hours, you know? Some people just may rather get straight to the point. So my thing is, do it like the Bunny Ranch? Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. We're gonna get to the business aspect of it too, because I think there's lots of layers to this. But again, I want to hear y'all's opinions. I want to know what y'all think. So I think they should be regulated in some form or fashion. I mean, and not just regular, that you should be licensed. You should have to get tested, regularly to know that you're clean. But again, you'll have a secondary. You have a black market for people giving prostitutes fake licenses. I mean, all this stuff is just going to happen. It is what it is. It's just going to happen. Man. But again, here's the thing: you can have the strong game. You can have but it's still going sometimes an experienced lady of the evening. It's still gonna take a little time to break her down, So sometimes you just may say, "Hey, you know what? I don't even want to do all this. I got a little extra change. It ain't hurting because there's some motherfuckers out there who are paid." I had a friend, Baker Man knows exactly who I'm talking about. Gentleman was about our age, doing very well for himself, extremely well for himself, especially to be that age. I'm not gonna get into his business, but he's the one that really changed my whole thought process on probably man, paying for some pussy. No fucking way. Can't do it, won't do it. And I'm still opposed to it, but I don't look at people who do in that same manner. And he talked about a couple of things. We were drinking one night. I think I want to say it was at a kickback at Shaq Cush's pad. And like I said, we were just out there talking, and he was a young businessman. And we were just talking about some things. He's like, think about it, man. Would you rather take the chick home from the club or, deal with you a high class escort? Because the escort, her livelihood is based on her being clean and, that's her reputation and that's her job. That's how she makes a living. The chick from the club don't give a shit. She just gonna go home. She give you something and you don't even know it, and she gonna go about her way. That's not how she, it's a difference. So he's like, I feel better dealing with a chick who is a professional. The service is quality. They're clean. They, not just as far as diseases, but the way they generally carry themselves. Depending on, I'm sure there's some trashy ones out there too. So let's not get all the way into that. But again, like I said, this gentleman had. When I say this gentleman had money, so change was not a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like change was not a thing for this man. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing for this young man. So yeah, that man was a go-getter. He stayed getting it. Respect, like I said, I need to steal a couple of pages out of his playbook. But that's part of the thing right there. Definitely changed my perspective on a lot of stuff. And I need to rehash some of the things that he told me because, man, I see them coming to fruition now that I, think about them. But, so there's that. But getting back to the prostitution aspect of it. But he was just talking about paying for it. He was talking about, just different things and going in with that. But again, like I say, I think that it should be regulated, taxed, licensed. Everybody should eat. The government should get their little cut out of it too. Again, hopefully they'll be better for the jobs. Now, something I have questions about when it comes to escorts and porn stars and stuff like this too. This is I'm throwing all this stuff into sex work, strippers, whatever. It seems odd, and a lot of niggas date strippers, like claim strippers, like really will date them, claim them, walk side by side with them, knowing that they work in the VIP, doing all kind of dirt. You know what I'm saying? Doing all kind of dirt outside of all of that. You know what I mean? And I'm going to talk about that too, class of 2003. That's a very valid point. Because look, if I'm going to spend all that money, I want some real live action. I don't want to do the work myself and use my imagination. Shit, I can do that on my own. But, so relationships, dating. How does that work with sex workers? Apparently there's a lot of people who view it as a valid business. There's a lot of motherfuckers, men, who are dating sex workers, like actual physical interaction type sex workers. And they have no problem with it. Couldn't be me, okay? Could not be me, and they're out there doing it. We're talking about an old friend of ours. He's no longer with us, but a friend of ours that we used to know back in the day, Sweetberry, Sourberry. But yeah, he was a go-getter. That man was getting it. When I say getting it, getting it. So that's why I say, hey, no excuses. Everybody can get it if you want to get it. Miss K Grace, what's the motherfucking deal? And so that's an interesting aspect of it, dating, relationships, that people nowadays, because I guess, with people looking at it more like a beneficial way of making a living, dudes is okay with that. I don't know, pimping. I don't know about that. I'm cool on that. I'm cool on that. I don't think that is something I'd engage in. And now you're like, well, what's the difference? Because you have a lot of these women out here who may have a body count, and Miss Meat tells all the women, don't tell anybody your body count, so it could be in the hundreds, right? You never know. You don't know what you're dealing with if people want to plead the fifth on the body counts. Then maybe so. Maybe you're in the same situation. But at least it's not active, correct? At least it's not an active situation where you know that, all right, well, you sitting at the breakfast table eating your oatmeal and orange juice, and then, you're on your way to work and your old lady is on the way to a brothel, or, I don't know, maybe she works from home. Who knows? You got niggas up in your bed. That's another thing. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about what 2003 talked about. I'm going to talk here for about 5-6 more minutes, and I'm going to open up the line. And I wanted to go back to legality. There was something I actually took a couple of notes on this thing. But I want to talk about the virtual aspect of the webcams, and even those who aren't necessarily promoting sex per se because they're not getting fully naked. But what is the difference between, like we talked about, Twitch thoughts and some of these women who use the guise of gaming, but they use their body to promote, basically in a sexual way. They're using their body to benefit, to grow. They're not good gamers, but people watch them just doing stuff because they are tantalized. Is that classified as sex work? Is that under the same thing? Again, the webcam chicks. And people say, well, with all the free porn and stuff that's still available out there, why are people still watching webcams, right? You're like, well, why are they doing that? Why would they still do that? Because of the control factor. You know what I'm saying? There's a control factor because you get to, make requests and do things like that. With pre-recorded videos that you're watching on the thing, you don't get that. And you're like, well, Honcho, how the fuck do you know? You got your paying up? No, because I told you I did do some adult affiliate marketing. And when they would talk about promoting certain webcam sites, they would say these are why that these webcam sites are still doing so successfully. Because you have the ability to make requests and, tipping and all that other stuff. If you're a man, that's right. Yeah, I agree. I couldn't imagine. It would be a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. Professor Trill, what's the motherfucking deal? So that's why webcam stuff still is thriving. Actually, it's actually doing very well. You would think it would die out with all the IG and everything else. When you're talking about IG, we talk about the women who are going independent, and I want to talk about the business model of it. And then I'm gonna open it up to the line. I still have a couple other points, but I'm gonna skip some of those. I want to talk about the business model because I want to bring up somebody I don't like talking about. It really kind of gets on my nerves. But this person took stripping and benefited. It wasn't purely stripping. She was a terrible stripper. But what about these people who can take stripping, taking sex work, saving their money up, and then converting it into a more traditional business, right? The money may not be as fast and it may not be as easy, but they convert sex working. They actually either use it to go to school, to pay bills, to, avoid getting student loans, making short-term decisions that may benefit them in the long term, right? So I think that that's part of it. That's something else that should be considered. Cartier, what's the motherfucking deal? And so with all of the negativity, I don't think a lot of it. I think both of them are trash. But I think the smart ones do. I think there are a lot of women who know and have an advantage, and they say, hey, you know what? I know what I got. This is not something I want to be doing for a long time, but I'm going to use this to get into a legit business. You got a lot of them, because like I say, when I was doing the adult affiliate marketing, I would study a lot, and I'd watch little trends, and I'd see certain things. And a lot of them are bummy as shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about it. In reality, a lot of them are bummy as shit. A lot of them are young. They have no education. They don't understand anything. They just know they got a body and people will pay for it. So a lot of them are really bummy. But there are smart ones, because I forgot, it's a couple of those porn stars who are multimillionaires, and they actually, which is one of the Asian ones, of course, would be the Asian one. I want to say has a law degree, or has, I mean, there's a couple of them that are actually pretty intelligent, you know. They don't want to. I want to send a thank you card to the gentleman who taught some of these women some of these tricks. Just, hey man, you know, I don't need to know nothing else. I just want to say thank you, brother, because I appreciate it. You know, I'm reaping the benefits now, and I just want to thank you, my good man. You say, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But that's the thing. But you'll be surprised what a lot of these quote unquote strippers are out here doing. That VIP room, that champagne room, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot more action going on in there than just private dances. So we gonna leave that we gonna leave that alone. But there's a lot of sim niggas. Some of your favorite artists out there. I've known a few entertainers. I know some who were very prominent here in the local area, and have entertained some of certain individuals in this chat conversation's favorite artists. And I could really care less, but say the man has very simp-like behavior. And I'll just leave it at that. So, again, you know, my thing is this, man. I'm not against sex work. I'm not against rap. I'm not against rappers. But we are against those thugs. But I do think it needs to be regulated for the safety of people involved, especially if you are, you know, actually doing in-person physical contact. And we're talking about, you know, a litany of things. You know, we talk about a lot of this stuff is handled by pimps, and the term whores, hookers, prostitutes, they don't want to use that anymore. That's why everybody's using sex worker now. But there's a lot of pimps in this game, and I ain't mad at the pimping. It is what it is. If that's what you're doing, if that's how you got it, you want to deal with a bunch of crazy women's personalities, that's fine. Then you got a lot of what they like to call renegades, which are women who are independent operators. And I'm gonna be honest, man, a lot of these IG thotties, we want to call them or whatever, it's some of those are they under the guise of modeling. They are independent operators, if you will. But you see a lot of them, again, are doing things for the look, and they're not saving up long term. I'm not saying pimps are the best financial investors or anything like that. But a lot of these women, they do it for the lavishness now. Now it's not even about a livelihood. It's about using their body just to be on the scene, which I think is stupid. You know, this is a temporary game, you know, whatever you're playing. If you're playing any kind of dangerous game, any kind of game like this, that you need to be thinking long term. And you're not always going to be able to do what you've been doing. Anything can happen to you, because if your body is your job, you get in a car wreck, well, guess what? You're out of work. Something happened, you get sick, you get whatever, you're out of work. You fuck around, get pregnant, you know, you're out of work for a little bit. Anything can happen. And so they don't think long term. They are, you know, they're living, a lot of them get caught up in the lifestyle, living fast, having fun. There's a lot of drugs involved, and lots of different things going on. So a lot of this stuff is dangerous. I may share some other stories, some other things. I've done some security for some private events before, and it's a lot of interesting stuff. And I mean, hey, it can turn into a lot of different shit. I'm just saying, people got to be careful. So I've seen a lot of the mentalities of a lot of these women. And let's be honest, hey, if you coming up out the hood, you ain't never had shit, and the motherfuckers willing to break you off a nice little chunk of change for you dancing around for a little bit or doing whatever, entertaining a house full of niggas, you know, and you make you a couple of $1,000s, you're gonna think you're living the life. You know, you're gonna think that you really got it going on. You're not gonna think long term. You're not gonna think about, hey, well, every opportunity ain't gonna be like this. It's gonna be somewhere you ain't gonna get no action, but they don't think like that. I agree. Same thing with a drug dealer. Absolutely. Again, it's those dangerous games, those dirty games. You gotta. It is what it is. But a lot of people see these the stripper turned celebrities and think that they're gonna be that. You know how many strippers are out there that don't nobody know? There's strippers working at a strip club. Niggas, the strip club owners don't even know work there. And when you start working here, how'd you get here? Anyway, let's open up the line. I ain't gonna take up too much time. I want to know what you guys think about. It ain't even gotta be. It doesn't have to necessarily be just strippers. It doesn't have to necessarily be prostitutes. Just anything involving this whole game of sex work. So I've seen from the virtual aspect, because y'all seen it now. Like these cameras, they got these machines. You gotta be like a super pervert. But there's these machines that if you have one, it's like a virtual whatever machine. So like the chick can operate it on her end and then do stuff to you on your end. Like it's a bunch of crazy stuff out there. Then what kind of damage are these sex dolls going to do long term to the what are they going to do long term to the sex work industry? Do you think it's going to have any kind of hindrance? Do you think it's going to have any kind of impact? Excuse me. Or do you think that everything will stay the same? You'd rather someone be a stripper or than a drug dealer? So you would date a stripper before you would date a drug dealer? Interesting. Man, look, hey, I'm telling you, if I'm ever back on the singles market, I'm getting me a sex doll. I'm gonna bring her on the den with me and everything. Fuck what y'all talking about. I'm say, yeah, hey, check out this my new bitch. I call her Bertha. You know, she bought it. You know, yeah. She got an old school name. She got some old school ways. She's a traditional sex doll. We gets it in. She don't give me no flack, no talk back. How you know about that? I ain't lying. Like, I mean, seriously, if you are going to be promiscuous, you're going to be doing all kind of shit. Like, wouldn't it be almost better to invest in a sex doll than some of the shit you got going on nowadays, get burnt up, out here getting finesse for meals and everything else? I bust you in your eye, ho. You don't get died for my dough. Man, Sweet James Jones stories, the greatest. Now, I commend a stripper or a woman who uses what she's got to get to where she wants. But again, like I said, you have a lot of. I think the majority of them, they live the life and have nothing to show for it. But then I think you have the few who use it as a stepping stone to a better life. You know what I'm saying? And I commend those. I don't commend a stripper who's just a stripper and feels like she should be respected like I said earlier, like a CEO or somebody who's, you know, doing a dangerous job or something like that. No, you're just a stripper. I mean, you working and you eating. I'm not mad at you, but I'm not going to celebrate you. I'm not going to say you're doing the hardest thing on earth. You're doing what people have been doing for free for a long time, you know. So it is what it is. I'm gonna be honest. Appreciate that, Brielle Blair L. Bay. I hope I said that right. I might have messed it all up. So, you know, I think that would be a good idea. But the line is on. Let me put the headphones on. And so if y'all want to call in, express your thoughts. Is this a Kush Den? No, Heidi, there is far too many people. Y'all gotta remember, the Kush Dens used to be, remember when the Kush Den would be like, we would celebrate if there was like 10 people in the Kush Den at once. Those were, that like, if you were there for those days, that's borderline quadruple OG status. If you were there for those days, you probably a quadruple OG. And then there would be days that it was just, people would be turned, oh, it's 7 people in the den. Oh, it's going down. Then I think, you know, one day it hit like 14 on a random day. We thought it was a celebration. The den, the old Kush Den is the crazy thing. But like I said, Professor Trill called in. I forgot what the topic was. It's been so long. I gotta go back and really do some. I need to take some time and just audit some of those old dens and really take some notes. Hey, Oh yes, that's what it was. Yes, yes, the alimony call. The 420 Den. Oh yeah, they were terrible. It was all good, but in my mind, there was a lot of people. I was tired as shit. Man, oh, man. Those were good days, but very bad days. That was terrible stuff. Um, but you know, the thing is, I think that I don't want to say prostitution is a young woman's game. I don't want to say sex work is a young woman's game. But I think it is, in a way, it can be an equalizer. You know, men are going to pay for women regardless. They're going to pay for sex. They're going to pay either through dinner dates. They're going to pay for whatever, whenever, however. Some of these women don't have to do shit. We saw, like I told y'all the story about the Twitch chick who finessed old buddy out of $11,000 basically just begging for him. You know what I'm saying? Just she continued to beg, please, I need this. My mom will give you the money. I'll pay you back. Never paid the dude back. She asked for some more money. Hey, I need $2,300 and, you know, I'll pay you back. I'll come see you one day. And, you know, never ever. Hold on. Got a call coming in. Hold up. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have? Well, first let me fix the mic. I don't know why this didn't set standard to this. Hold on. What's the motherfucking deal? Who we got called into the den this evening? Hello. Okay, well, there's that. But like I said, I think it can be an equalizer. I think if you know, if you want to leverage, if you're willing to exchange, and to some people it might not be dignity, it might not be anything. If you're willing to exchange your body for financial gain, then do it. But like I said, you see a lot of these women, they get in there and they're willing to do it for drugs. They're willing to do it for earlobes, and other various things. So I mean, that's I'm against that. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening? And other various things. So I mean, that's I'm against that. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling? Hello. Okay. Well, nobody wants to talk to this. Did I fix the mic? Let me make sure. It looks like am I heard here? Yeah. It should be there. Pussy only costs $40 now. Yeah, that's right. Hey, you know, hoes like to fuck for $40 in the club. Fucking up the game, bitch, it gets no love. Yeah, I'm seeing this. It's getting a whole lot. Man, I don't even want to talk about the KG thing. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God. Oh man. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening? Okay. Well, now people just calling and hanging up. All right. Well, there's that. Yeah, I saw that, man. I saw that. For what? What have you done that you earn $100,000 a month? $1.2 million a year in spousal support. Nobody needs that. Nobody. No, I don't care if you fucking, what's her name? The Amazon Don, what's his wife's name? Like, come on. That's what I'm saying. Drinking, cooking, you multitasking over there. No, I believe you. And that's what I'm saying. He's retired, so he's not even working. That's the crazy stuff. Nobody deserves that. If it would have been in his career when he really had some stuff going on, still couldn't understand it. But this is what I'm saying. Like, what is spousal support? What is this supposed to be? What is this supposed to mean? Hold on a second here. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling in to the den this evening? Thank you, Miss Ashley, for actually being a real caller and not an echo with a hang up. What's on your mind this afternoon, evening? I'll say afternoon when it's evening when it's afternoon. What's on your mind this evening, Miss Ashley? How do you feel about sex workers, the sex work industry? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? What are your overall feelings towards it? Oh, why do you say that? Okay. But don't you think that essentially most people in somehow, some way are having sex in exchange for something other than love? Okay. Okay. All right, hold on. I'm trying to cut my damn phone. I feel like my damn just shit keep ringing and shit. Um, okay, so you wouldn't participate in it, but what about like say even from the virtual aspect, women who use, or I guess other people who use whatever we are identifying as this evening. I guess I should actually not have. I should have your audio on. I guess that helps, huh? Well, I had you muted, fucking with the goddamn phone on the phone call. So, Miss Ashley, I apologize. I had you roaming. So, yeah, I had you roaming. And so they couldn't hear what you were saying, but you said you don't think people should be having sex for money. And that, but basically that's what you're doing with your husband because he's not going to take care of you if you're not having sex with him. Okay. All right. I apologize for that, y'all. I was too many things, too many places, and I lost focus there for a second. And see, I can't look at the chat during calls because y'all are bad people and y'all say stuff that has me thinking or laughing or doing distracted shit. So that's why I don't be looking at the chat as much. And so I miss it when y'all say someone's muted. But I'm saying, well, what about virtual women? What about those women who, again, like I said, are using their bodies to, make money maybe online, so they're not necessarily having sex with a bunch of people. Girls. Yeah, like webcam girls. And various people do it. Sometimes it's a variety of that. Some people have sex with their partner on camera. Some people or do solo take requests. I mean, there's various things that people do that may not necessarily be having sex with a lot of different individuals. What about those people? How do you feel about that form of sex work?
I guess I don't necessarily have any problem with it because I just think it's gross. Mm-hmm. That's basically what I think. Like I don't care if people are doing that. Let's make your money. Mm-hmm. And if somebody's willing to, spend money on that, do it. But I just wouldn't get involved with people like that.
Okay. What about porn stars? Do you look at them in the same category as those types, webcam types, or do you look at them more like prostitutes?
Porn stars?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. I think they're better than prostitutes. They're all gross, but at least they get tested. And it's just with people that have been tested, so it's safer, but I don't know. Just the whole street walking thing is too much.
Okay. So that's when you think of prostitutes, is that what you think about? Or if I use the term escort, does that paint a different picture in your mind?
It does.
Okay.
Escorts are different because they don't pound the pavement, as some would say.
You gotta pat your feet on the concrete.
Right. No, I think escorts are different because they mainly do it online, and they're a higher class. So it seems to me. I'm not in the sex industry, so this is what they're painting for me. Okay. Is what I think is that they're just better.
Okay. I think they're all the same. It's just terms, Coffee, frappuccino, all the same stuff. So, okay. My thing is, wow, somebody said the porn industry doesn't test for herpes because it's so prevalent. That's terrible. That's terrible. That is, that's disgusting. Okay, so you say you look at porn stars different. You look at, when you say prostitute, you think of prostitute hooker, you think of a streetwalker. So you think that people who maybe just aren't making themselves available to everyone, and they're more selective or a little bit better than, say, the people who are just kind of wide open with it?
Yeah, streetwalkers, those are crackheads. Sex for $40. They'll do anything. There's no type of whatever. They're just getting in the cars. But I don't even know if girls do that anymore with all the stuff on the internet.
Hold on one second. Hold on. I got a confirm that with Mr. Baker, man. I forgot about that. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, because you got the internet, and then I'm sure that there are. Oh, obviously they do, because that's where the trainee got killed. Unless they're promoting streets on the internet or something, because that they were talking about that's a street in Dallas where all the trainees go and post up, and so they're still jumping in cars. So yeah, they are still they're still doing it. Absolutely still doing it. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Trainee prostitutes still in their busy.
Do you think trainee prostitutes make more than regular prostitutes? I mean, don't regular prostitutes don't have to take a day off, a couple of days off, unless I don't know, maybe unless they. I don't think they.
I'm sure they do make a lot more money.
This is fucking disgusting. Okay. Oh man, yeah, I forgot that we did know someone who was active in the industry at one time. Shout out to them.
I knew a prostitute too.
Was it a friend? Was it just someone you happened to find out was a prostitute? Like, how did that whole thing work?
Yeah, like I just found out she was a prostitute. Like, I was hanging out with her. And then she, like, just started telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, my God. Because it's, like, this girl I used to work with. And, like, she just started saying, like, oh, yeah, so I started doing, like, talking about chicks. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And then she's all like, oh, I was working. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I have to get the fuck out of here now.
That's tough. Baker, man, I see her on the IG sometimes. I think she's legit, and I do believe. Actually, I chopped it up with her the other day. Okay, so you said you were working a regular job, and this chick was also working that job, and then doing some part-time pussy promoting.
Yeah.
No, that's tough. So did she end up leaving the legitimate work to go full time, or how did that whole thing work out for her?
I don't know. I think she has been doing it for years. Like, I didn't ask her, like, any questions because I didn't want her to be like, oh, you want to, I don't know, like, join me or something crazy, and I would just have to slap the shit out of her and leave. I didn't do all that. So that was just like, and this person, we wouldn't even think they were a hooker. But she was doing some wild shit.
Okay. That's funny. I'm laughing at Professor Trill. I was jabbing that. What you know about that Tila, Professor Trill? Okay, so you would never entertain the lifestyle, not even a webcam girl, if you didn't even have to make direct contact with Johns or whatever you would call them, clients, or however you would identify them?
No, they're like sucking sex toys and showing their private. No. Like, I think that just that's so disgusting. Like, what if your kid sees that? Or they screenshot it and they send it to your family?
Okay.
That would be so embarrassing.
Okay. Well, what if your family supports you? So some of these women have to probably come from some very liberal families, and it's actually, I've seen different things. I've seen some of them that are super liberal, feminist, weirdo types, and then you have some that seem to be very conservative. The ones who seem to be very conservative, they don't really do. No, I'm not gonna say they don't do some of the more outrageous. I mean, sex is sex, but they don't have like the weird colors in the hair and doing all that. Like, they are kind of abide by the rules a little bit more. But anyway. So what if your family supported you? Would you still, is it a personal decision? Is it just something you think personally is disgusting? Do you think that society looks at it a certain way? I mean, what is it that you really find the biggest issue with?
Like, what type of family would you have that would support you doing that?
There's some bad families out there. But what if your family ain't shit in the first place? What if you come from a family of dope fiends and shit, and you living in the hood or the projects, and it's just a shitty environment, and you like, fuck it, hey, I'm gonna use what I got to get where I want to go, And maybe you start stripping, and you start, maybe you make your little, maybe you're a legit stripper who actually
Yeah,
is
I don't
saving up to
think
do something.
stripping's bad.
Okay, but that's sex
Stripping's
work.
not bad.
Is it not sex work though?
Yeah, it's the sex industry, but you're not saying, oh, okay, a blowjob for me is going to cost X amount.
Shit, have you been to a strip club?
I've gone to a few. I've been to 2 in my life.
No, well, they're not going to offer you the blowjob services, but trust me, those strippers are in there promoting additional activity. They have upsells, if you will.
Well, maybe not, because I wasn't like, obviously they weren't going to get tips from me. I was just in there.
Okay. But yeah,
I didn't see anything.
no, you're not gonna see it. It's there, but you're not gonna see it. Okay. All right. So, any other thoughts that you have on the sex industry, sex workers, or just as a whole? Do you think it should be legalized overall, or do you think that it should just kind of remain the way that it is? And I'm talking about prostitution, because the other things I think are gray area but legal.
Right. Like, I know in some places in, what is it, Nevada or someplace,
Yes.
it's legal. But, it doesn't seem like, I think if it's regulated and they make them get tested, that's a lot better than just, like, a streetwalker. Like, this girl was telling me she was having sex without a condom with a John. And I'm like, what? Like, bitch, you're about to die. Like, what? Like, why would you even do that? Anyways,
Yeah.
I think stuff like that is dangerous. But, like, if you go to a brothel where you have, like, people are tested, they make you wear protection for everything, and, they have a guy there to protect you. Like, what if, I just think it's crazy that they would risk their lives like that. Like, why wouldn't somebody target a prostitute to kill? Or, to harm? That just seems like, I don't know, that's crazy.
Yeah, little baby, that's kind of queer. But yeah, if I ain't lying, if you out there raw dog, you don't give a shit. You either got something or you just living life on the edge.
Oh my God,
Like,
he probably had everything.
that's tough. You motherfucking got some what's that shit? Some antibiotics in your fucking car or something after you fucking. I mean, it's terrible. I don't know. That's a fucking disgusting.
Like, damn, she might have Ebola at this point.
Yeah, man. The Ebola outbreak is getting bad. It's like a big thing now. World Health Organization. Yeah, it's like it's where somewhere over in Africa, in the Congo, the whatever it is, the DRC. They're talking about it's like a real bad outbreak, and people are getting it, and they're not able to. I'm not saying they're not able to track it, but it's actually a little bit worse than they expected. It's been a lot of cases, like 1,600 people or something like that have died from it. Something crazy.
Yeah.
Very sick. Okay. So you think it should be regulated, legalized? Should sex workers have to pay taxes?
Yeah, they should. Just like weed. We need to get all this money for the roads.
If you're going to be street walking, you're going to be walking these roads, you need to pay taxes to fix these goddamn roads. Okay, I understand.
If you're going to be pounding the pavement, you better pay for some pavement. That's what I feel.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Okay. Well, anything else you would like to add, Miss Ashley?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for calling, getting this party started, and we'll see who is willing to follow up and what they think. But I appreciate you for calling in this evening.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling in to the den this evening? What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling in to the den this evening? That's a lot of noise going on. Hello.
Hey,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's a little bit of an echo.
Let me pause my screen.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Wow. So, that's so much to digest right there. I mean, I think it's like y'all gotta forgive me. I'm drinking a little bit of Henny.
Okay, it's a Henny thing. It's all good.
It's Friday night. I'm in here making me a little something to eat a little late, and drinking me some Henny at the same time.
Okay.
But no, if you can't get a hold to go to a regular doctor, how you gonna get a hold to pay taxes? I mean, for real.
Good point.
I mean, she at home in the class, she still ain't taking care of the kids. She ain't doing it. You know, that's not everybody. There's some hoes out there doing everything they got to do and all this stuff. But should it be legalized? If you can shave, if you can work, you got people right now being paid under the table.
Yeah.
So, and we all know people being paid under the table. I mean, but that's how they make their living. That's how they get by.
Yeah.
So, why would you start paying taxes for something you can get paid under the table and make the same amount of money? What, are you going to make more money? What are they going to put on like a wage benefit on being a sex worker? It's going to be $15 an hour, permanent, and this is what you get. So why would anybody change that? Even if you legalize it? It's the same thing I say if you legalize weed or whatever. You legalize it in some places, people still going to make the money they're going to make on the side. We're going to pay taxes on something that don't nobody know about.
Yeah.
So when you look at it like that, I don't think it quite makes sense. But in the same token, you got, a woman out there who's meeting a guy, who's doing everything she got to do, and she set up a business. Say she sets up a business. So is there going to be, say you make it perfectly legit, is there going to be sexual discrimination? Is there going to be, is there going to be discrimination? You can't discriminate against somebody because of the same things you would discriminate about if you was at Starbucks. You can't serve somebody because they're not black or not white. Are you going to impose? What restrictions could you really impose on a sex worker?
That's interesting.
To regulate the business. How do you sue a hooker?
You didn't get your full time. You got to have a clock with you.
I mean, it's like, and then on the other hand, you got the business, the high-end business of it, but then you have a sex worker is on every level.
Yeah.
It really is. It's on, but can you turn it down some? A sex worker is on every level. It's in the professional side, but it's also on the street and the home side, where you have people out there doing what they have to do to feed their children, to take care of things. And you don't want to knock a woman for doing what she has to do if the father isn't there doing what he has to do in the same token and everything. But at the same time, me and my oldest son was just having this argument a little while ago. If you lay down there and do what you're doing, how many should you be allowed to have, 1 abortion or 10 abortions? At what point should you learn about sex education and stuff like that? So if you out there making the same bad choices day after day, it comes into that whole sex work thing. When they make a bad decision with a John, who pays for it, who's responsible for it, should the guy, if that's a profession, should the guy be held for child support? In the same token. You're right, it's so many issues you can come into with this. Because it's the same thing in the end. You're laying down there, spreading your legs. Every time you do it, there's a chance you're making a child.
That's true.
So, what are going to be the rules? If you're going to make it a professional thing, are men going to be exempt from raising a child, from being, labored with child support and those kind of things? everybody talks about the woman's right to choose, but then you get a man's right to, a man has no rights in any decision-making process. So you run into a whole lot of things there. And then just in the streethood part of it, it's like, if your man is with you, it's like I was saying in the comments, want to know how you learn. You don't want to know how you learned it. They just want to know that you know how to do it and you pleasing them. But do they really want to know what qualified you to do it and however you learned it? It's one thing if you get it with a teenager, but we're talking about grown folks.
Yeah.
And stuff. So people ask what size, all that kind of. Don't ask them stupid questions. Don't ask what size, what it meant, how I felt, who was better. That's stupid.
No, you're not. That's
not
necessary.
Go.
Yeah, because you know some folks they'll ask too many questions and get their whole feelings hurt. You know, they say if you don't want to know something, don't ask, don't go looking for it, and you will find out. You'll find what you're looking for. So, yeah, I find it best if you really don't truly want to know, you better not ask those questions if you know you can't handle it.
And then it's like, and like with me, with my husband, we grew up in the same neighborhood, but we didn't know each other. We grew up in the same neighborhood, but we really didn't know each other as children. But we know all of our family members on each side.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, we didn't know each other. I guess that was God, ordained, because had I known, who he was or who he knew who I was at child, I don't think we would have ever got together, knowing, I would have never given that the time of day. And, and look at it like, thank God I didn't have any past sexual relationships with anybody in my husband's circle or anybody in that neighborhood that he has to now look back upon and be ashamed of. Or, because men, they're not going to say they're ashamed of it, but just knowing that, but if you know that you married somebody that you grew up with and knowing that, when they were teenagers, they used to date somebody that everybody knows in the neighborhood, it's a little bit of an issue. So we talk about, so it's not just sex, in a workplace, it's sex in your marriage, sex in, in a relationship. It's all of these areas where if you're out there being promiscuous, and it's going to touch everything you love regardless. But as far as should it be allowed? Colorado, what is it, Colorado that is allowed? Colorado, Nevada, that it is allowed.
I think it's Nevada. I don't know about Colorado. I'm not sure, but I think Colorado they've been on some weird shit recently, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're too far behind.
Yeah. So you got all these places where all the sex stuff is allowed, but I just think that at the end of the day, it's everybody's personal choice, and like I was just telling my son, you have to agree with everybody's choices, and I've said this to you before, and the audience. You don't have to agree with everything someone does in their personal life to acknowledge or agree with other things they do professionally and personally. So, so it becomes that bit of a thing. If you know somebody is, so can you run a brothel and be a councilwoman?
I mean, I would. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Can you? I mean, could you? I mean, I'm sure we got them out there and everything. People doing, or the same thing for a man. Yeah. You be out there. Can you be a pimp and a councilman at the same time? I'm sure it's out there. So those are issues too.
Yeah, this is true. And me personally, like I said, I don't necessarily have an issue with anything. I mean, it's a certain point where you have to be adult. My whole thing, I think, is as long as you're not harming children in anything that you're doing, or people who are unable to, as long as you're not taking advantage of folks that are way too old, as long as you're not harming children, as long as you're not affecting anybody who may be of special needs and can't, necessarily fend for themselves. Outside of that, I think I don't think there's too much I could fault anybody for doing, as long as you're just not taking advantage of people.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not a place you can bring your kid to work day.
No, I should hope not.
I'm stupid. I'm so stupid.
I would hope not. But I don't know. Some people nowadays, you just never know with people nowadays. Shit, there'd be people trying to make excuses for it. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't. But somebody fuck around and wouldn't, and that's why we're gonna have to have regulations, because some people just can't get right.
I think it's just literally one of those things where, it's going to come into so many areas. Like I said, the creating a child thing, that's huge. People skip over, she's tested. So what if she's tested? Is she on birth control?
Yeah.
What kind of birth control? How long has she been on birth control? What kind of, what kind of birth control is it? Does she have previous pregnancies? I mean, miscarriages, whatever. And, some people can be, you've heard of people on birth control who get pregnant. Well, for me, I think it's more or less people say they're on the birth control, but they're really not on the birth control, or they're using it incorrectly. And they end up pregnant. Because I think if you're using it responsibly, you don't. But in those situations, the same thing, people worried about a disease, but a child, disease you can get some medicine for. A child, you got forever.
Yeah.
So there's so many different layers to that. And like I said, there has to be, there'll be, Supreme Court cases on, whether she knew he didn't want this. And I just see so many legal issues when you make it a legality. The same thing in family court. The same thing you're dealing with in family court, I think you'll be dealing with in sex in the workplace if it's legalized.
Yeah, that's true.
People be able to sue a company. Will you be able to sue a company that's running, say Sony decides to pick up a brothel? Will you be able to sue Sony if something goes wrong with the brothel and all of these things? It's so many different legal issues that I think you're gonna that you'll run into when you legalize it. But again, the people who are in this business, I don't think they're gonna pay those taxes.
No.
You might get them Beverly Hills people because they already got a write-off somewhere else down the line and everything. But in the hood, when you open a business down in your local project, and you open up the house and they're in there doing what they're doing, they're not paying these taxes.
That's true.
It's just not going to happen. That's not being racist or anything else. It is what it is.
No.
If you don't have to do something, why would you make yourself start doing it?
No.
If there's no benefit in it to you?
That's true. That's true.
What am I give the government $100,000 for, or $7,000 out of my money that he don't even have to know I have?
Yeah.
Why would I stop doing what I'm doing if I'm already, successful at it?
That's true. This is true. I mean, if we're gonna really apply human logic to it, it's not gonna happen.
It's just like weed shop. You think that because you legalize weed in some places that the other people that sell weed, they just gonna stop selling. Oh my God, they open up the shop down there, we got to close our business. Do you think they're gonna stop what they're doing? Even if they, we're gonna stop selling weed over here to our customers who don't have medical cards and all this different stuff. No, they're not going to stop doing that. That's money. They're not going to stop that.
I agree.
And you come up with any crime plan, tax plan, immigration plan, and no plan you can come up with in the world that's going to stop those things from happening.
That's true. Yeah, so I mean that's actually, look, we got way more complex than I even took time to think about it, because when you mentioned as far as
Hey, Gray.
the child
Try
aspect.
not to be too funny, but I am so very silly.
That's great. But no, I mean, but I agree. I mean, that's something I did not think about. When the child aspect comes into it, I would like to think people will be responsible. But again, when you apply the human element, there will always be mistakes. There will always be issues. So you can't ever count anything out. So yeah, when does it go from a family court situation to a business issue to So that's tough.
But I'm just like this. If you're that fine anyway, you ain't got to pay for nothing. It's going to be free. It's given to you. That's why I be like, when all these rape cases and different stuff come out, and then you look at the dude, and you be sitting there looking like, oh, my God, dude is cute. He's fine. He got a nice body. What you taking it for? Why you got to take anything? You go down anywhere and get it for free. You ain't got to rape nobody. What you got to take from somebody for? Why are you even paying for it and everything? Even if your wife's ugly at home, you can still go get it for free. It just don't matter. It's crazy. That's the truth.
That's true. That's true.
Look, ass is always going to be free. As long as people see each other and there's a moment and there's an opportunity, it's always going to be given away. You don't have to buy it. You ain't got to pay taxes for it or nothing else, because you can just get it if you got it like that.
That's true. Yeah, some, but unfortunately, not everybody got it. There's some folks that they may need to open up their pocketbook. Some folks, it might be their easiest path to success. Maybe a few Jacksons and a few Benjamins, but but for the most part, I think if you have a particular goal in mind, you shouldn't have to be paying for anything.
Well, I'm gonna hang up now, so I'm gonna just continue listening so I can hear some of the other callers' thoughts. And it's always a pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. B. Moore, I appreciate you calling and sharing that, and adding some context to it, because, like I say, those are things I did not think of. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm gonna get some of the rest of the Den folks' views on some of the things that you added this evening.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a good night.
All right, you too. Appreciate it. Look, man, I wish I was sipping some Henny. This ain't no damn Henny. This ain't gonna cut it. Nah, I ain't been drinking nothing. I think once I stopped drinking, maybe a month, maybe 2 months after I stopped smoking. But I never drink heavy like that anyway. But as long as I've been smoke free, I've pretty much been alcohol free. It's probably been a year since I've had alcohol. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling in to the Den this evening? Hello.
Hey, Honcho.
Hey, Miss Bell. How are you, Miss Bell?
I couldn't get in early enough to get that call in.
How do you feel about tonight's topic?
How do I feel about what?
How do you feel about tonight's topic?
Interesting. There's also a segment of non-contact, physical contact sex workers that we haven't even talked about. You got Playboy, you got Hustler, that's still considered the sex industry. Yeah. It's soft porn, but it's still part of the sex industry.
Nah, that shit don't count. If it ain't hardcore, it ain't worth the fuck. Nah.
Okay, then you have the talking on the phone, the 900 number.
Yes, that's true.
And
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. I didn't even think about that shit. That's crazy.
And there's also a lot of erotic literature, or what do they call it? Like porn lit, which is there's books and novels, and you've got movies. I mean, it's not just the what do you call it? The porn films itself. I mean, you actually have some kind of hardcore stuff. And they have Britlit, which has erotica in it. So, I mean, it's a whole nother, that's why they call it an industry, because there's so many different levels to it and so many different trees to fall off of.
I did not think about any of those. I forgot people still. Is that business still booming? People are still calling 900 numbers?
I have no idea. I mean, I remember it back when they talk about it in the 70s, and it was probably, at the height of it, was probably mid 80s, early 90s. Once the internet came on and the superhighway of sexual freedom came with that, and it didn't cost anybody as much, it laid off. It doesn't mean it's probably still not going. I mean, they still have chat lines.
No.
So, I mean, if you've got shows like catfishing, stuff like that's probably still going on.
Yeah.
But it's the non-sexual connection sex industry that still happens. I mean, you get your S&M and your B&D and all that still happens too. And that's considered part of the sex trade as well. And it's not sexual contact, but it's still pleasure contact.
Okay.
I guess it's specialized. I mean, if you could call it that.
Well,
But in most big cities, they have, like in Boston, they have what's called the combat zone. And other places call it a red light district.
okay.
And so that they can keep the prostitution down to a certain area, even though it's all over the place. You have it anywhere from big cities to probably, I would say, even in the rural areas, because somebody's going to make a buck.
Yeah.
You know, where they call it the oldest professional industry,
Yes. Absolutely.
and the first professional industry. And prostituting doesn't always have to be sex. It's one service for another. You know, you can prostitute yourself to do something that you wouldn't normally do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be sex.
This is true. This is absolutely true.
And generally the lowest form is when there's drug addiction, and the highest form is usually when it's considered a call girl.
So do
So you're talking $500 an hour.
Do you view them any differently, or is it essentially the same thing?
Yeah, but they're different clientele. I mean, one walks the street and one walks the escalators. And you're talking handbag versus Coach. Or Gucci, as you all say.
Oh, yes, the Gucci.
So, you know, the different tier of level of salary is what your handbag's going to be. You know, and the other thing is I don't think it's a bad thing that they regulate it. They'll never actually really get it licensed, but getting men and women in to make sure they're tested and regular checkups and healthy, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But as far as Danny was talking about getting to pay taxes, yeah, right. I'm sure that because Nevada it is regulated, that they definitely have more responsibility to pay taxes and do things like that. So never really thought about it. But I find it interesting that it's so glorified about a woman making herself vulnerable for a man. I mean, a handful of movies that came off the top of my head when we were thinking about this was Flashdance from the 80s. You got Pretty Woman. Marilyn Monroe was considered in that genre, even though she technically wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, it's what it represents and not always what it is. I mean, and we've talked about the fact that, you know, a woman can dance all night and go home with a penny in her pocket.
Yeah.
So you have it on all levels. It affects every financial echelon across the board. So, any questions or?
So what are your thoughts on it? Do you think that it's I don't want to say reputable occupation? Would you say that if they legalized it, how would you view it? Do you think that it's a bad thing, or it just kind of is what it is? That even if they did or didn't regulate it, that it wouldn't change? Like, what are your views on it personally? Like your personal opinions?
Personally, I think it's a necessary evil. Because you're going to always have somebody that feels desperate enough in order to give something so cherished away because they either need to put a roof over their head, they need to feed their kids, they need to do something that they're so desperate for that they're willing to use their body in order to make what they need to do. Do I hold any judgment call on it? No. Do I think it's right? Not for me personally, but people have to do what they need to do. There's been many success stories, and there's been many drug overdoses.
Yeah.
So it's a dangerous business. It's such a unique situation. It's not like you'd say, hey, they were construction working on a high-rise and they fell off the building, so sad that they fell. But that's the part of a person being a sex worker that nobody wants to glorify that life that they were holding a community service. Now, I know that that's kind of stretching the wording a bit, but the fact is that men and women are going to go and they're going to get a fix met. But they become workers. They don't become human anymore. And if we think about it, when we talk about sex workers, we don't say, hey, Jane or Joe or whatever. We say, we give them a label and we use that label so they become inhuman to us. So we don't have to identify it could be us because of our financial circumstance.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, and it's also a double standard. Somebody was talking about how, I don't know if it was Danny or if it was Shannon talking about, having rules and regulations put in, and, well, that person can't reject me because I'm this color or that color, whatever. But on the same end, where do the sex workers have a right to say, I don't want to be with this person because X, Y, Z? In that amount of desperation, they don't get a choice. They live through it and they deal with it, but there's not always a choice.
No. That's true.
And, for some men and women, it's because they want to better themselves through their education, to go to college, because it's the only way that they have to make money. That's the whole premise of Magic Mike. That was the whole premise of Flashdance, to make a better person later on. In the meantime, this was their way of paying their dues before getting what they needed to do. And the sad part is less people get that glorified being able to go to college than they do not making that level that they wanted to make. It doesn't always happen that way, but it doesn't always get talked about because that's not a success story.
So do you think that's a commendable way? I mean, if somebody's willing to take those risks and willing to, like I said, to go to that short-term, maybe status to improve their long-term successes, is that worthwhile?
I don't think it's for everybody, because there's got to be a certain stamina to be able to take that long enough in order to get through, to have a goal long enough to know that you're going to make it. I can't say, I don't want to make any speculation, and I don't want to make any judgment call about whether somebody should do it. It's a very personal decision, and it's a personal choice. You're doing what you got you're doing what you need to do. But you also need to know that you have a light at the end of the tunnel, or you make the light at the end of the tunnel to say, this is when it stops, because this is when I need to do something else. And sometimes, women get violated while they're doing a job, and it sinks them even deeper, and it doesn't allow them to succeed and stop where they want to, and then the drugs come in, and it can be a very negative end. And I've actually seen that happen more often than I'd like to. It's easier to see the sad stories on some levels than it is to see the success stories. The success stories are more Hollywood's wanting to whitewash it or sugarcoat what really happens in the industry. Because in that fact, you want to talk about it, that's where sex trafficking comes in. That's another thing that we hadn't really touched upon within all of this either. You know, in the movies they glorify the pimps and the whoremasters and the madams, but they're really nothing but bullies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just I don't know. I am kind
Are
of
they-
going off.
Are they
little
bullies
bit.
really, or are they more like
What?
professional motivators? I was saying, would you call them bullies, or would you call them maybe professional motivators?
Honcho, you cut out on me.
Uh-oh. 10-4. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay.
What did you say?
I said, would you really call them bullies, or are they more like professional motivators?
Well, yeah, if you want to propose a spin on it, you can say career counselors. I mean, hello. But, hey, you know, if the bitch ain't bringing the money in, what you going to do? Give her a black eye just to show her that, hey, you know, next time it gets worse. That's a bully. You know, there's a whole world of, within that world of worlds, you know, because the drugs are attached to it as well. And that's a whole nother part of that. But, yeah, I'm glad I'm not in that window. Got no problem with that. Like I said, it's a sad, necessary evil. Would I like it to be regulated? I would hope to think that it would be better, but shit still happens and people still die from it. And that's the realistic look at it.
So if it was regulated, you know, but wouldn't that provide the opportunity to say, you know, especially if you made a legitimate business? And again, this is all hypothetical, and this is me making assumptions that people are going to do the right things. But say you regulate it, say there's a building, but then I can understand people having issues with going into a certain location, being judged by the outsiders. But, you know, maybe you regulate, you work here, you must be clean. You know, you have protection because you have a room and a place, there's security on site. You make sure that these women aren't on, you know, hard drugs and things like that. So you try to keep them on the up and up. I don't know why I think, and I guess maybe you'd have to, you know, maybe take the money up front and, you know, have to kind of do like, take the taxes out for them. So that way they don't have to worry about that, not paying taxes. But, I don't know.
You just gave me the business plan for the bunny ranch.
And that's what I would, to me, that makes the most sense. But, you know, I don't think that's,
It works on some locations, but it doesn't work on others. I mean, unless you're planning on using a whole penthouse in one of the big major cities, Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, Detroit, New York. You know what I'm saying? It works with the bunny ranch because it's out in the desert. It's out away from, and people have to travel to it. But people aren't going to travel to it if there's a hooker or there's a streetwalker in their town. You know, it's also mode of opportunity and timing of opportunity.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense that, you know, sometimes, hey, it may not be convenient to venture across the way.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy's desperate to get off, then he's going to get the closest thing possible. If he's like, okay, I want to have a fantasy and I want to live out something, then you go to something like the ranch. It just depends on what that person's motivation and where their mind is at the moment when they make their decision. You know, do you do McDonald's when you're going to get something quick and cheap, or do you make, you know, reservations for a high-end restaurant? It just depends on what's your appetite.
This is true. Fast food, the convenience of fast food is what ruins so many Americans. So I guess the
So do
convenience
streetwalkers.
Yes, convenience of cheap, dirty coochie probably does the same. That's tough. Okay. Well, anything else that you would like to add, Ms. Bell?
Pretty much done with that. Not my cup of tea, but hey, it is what it is, and it's the reality of life.
Yes. Okay. So, if you had the opportunity, would you ever be? I wouldn't say. Let's see. Would you consider being a madam, or you would just stay far away from that life as a whole?
I don't know. If I was anything, I would be a retired madam at this point. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that, you know, I'm not at an age where I want to get back into dealing with any of that bullshit. But as far as management goes, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
That's what I'm looking at, because I think you would have, you know, the wisdom and the life experience to, you know, keep things on the up and up, and so maybe you wouldn't take too much of the foolishness going on. And I think that with some of the wise advice that you share with us daily in the den, then maybe you could help some of the young ladies who would be in that industry. You know, maybe they may start there for a little bit. You could help transfer them and help put them on the right path to where maybe they can make more of themselves in the long term, as opposed to it being a short-term situation. Well, making yourself a little nice chunk of change on top of it. You know,
like anything else, though, you become a den parent a lot of times, and I'm just not up for being a den parent of adults that need to make some good decisions.
Look, if they come in here acting like Kenneth, just you already know they ain't.
Sit their ass down until I get to them. Yep, pretty much.
Okay. What is
it's all good.
Okay. All right. Well, Miss Bell, I appreciate you calling in and sharing your thoughts with us.
And I got to give a shout out to my Miss Grace, because she's always good to me.
Yes, Miss Grace is a wonderful, one of the den favorites. Shout out to Miss Grace. I enjoy Miss Grace being here.
All right, I'm back on the boards, and I'll let somebody else call in.
All right. Thank you, Miss Bell.
No problem.
All right. Oh, man, I forgot to start saying and the bell has rung. I gotta start using that. Somebody used that earlier, or I don't know if it was today or yesterday, and I'm gonna start using that. That's terrible. Well, I put the sex worker tag on there, and now got sex workers following your shit on Instagram. That's such an odd thing. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening?
Sex workers on there now. Got sex workers following shit.
Hello.
What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den?
Hello. We're gonna swap it up. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den? Look, that's what we talk about. You gotta be calling and hanging up the phone. I'm gonna go back looking at this sex worker Instagram. Y'all want to hang the phone up on your boy? I don't know. Is this a sex worker? I hope not. That wouldn't be the. No. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just assuming. Let me stop assuming. No, since I tried to, I think there was Shannon that just called, and Shannon hung up on me. You know, that's it. He talking about we gonna miss it, and then I ain't gonna miss these hung up calls. I'll tell you that. How about that? So here's my thing, though, right? This might be interesting. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening? Hello. I'm gonna stop answering new numbers, goddammit, because all the new numbers that have called tonight have just called and then hung up. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening?
It's Shannon.
Oh, goddammit. Hello, Shannon. How are you doing this evening, Shannon?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was doing better before you called, but since you called in, I got to deal with it. I got to treat you just like every other den folk. I can't treat you funny. I know you're just using me for pistachios, so I don't think this is a genuine call. I'm offended and upset. So what are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Sex work is hard work. Somebody has to do it.
Why is this hard work? There are people who are doing this stuff
because it's not easy sucking dick and balls and eating ass.
So are you a sex worker?
No, of course not.
Do you suck dick and balls and eat ass?
I don't eat ass, but what I do in my private life is my business.
But why don't you get paid for it?
Why would I want to?
You said it's hard work, so somebody has to do it. So why aren't you getting paid for it?
Because I don't want to. Because you sucking random dick and balls. That's just not me.
So you're working pro bono?
No.
Well, what is this, volunteer work? I mean, so what's going on here? I mean, I'm trying to figure out,
Those are special privileges.
But I mean, it's work.
Designed for special people.
You just said it was work. Now it's a special privilege. I don't know what's going on here. I'm confused. I am. I don't know. I mean, you got to clarify this. So I'm really trying to just get to the bottom. I mean, I'm confused. I'm trying to process this thought. You said it's hard work, but yet you do this hard work for free. Is that what you're saying?
I do that for special people.
But it's for free though. Yes or no?
Yes, but I don't need the money like that. So,
But
okay.
nobody asked us. See, now you add all these caveats and all these special things to it. I'm just asking if you were doing it for free. That is all. That is all. So you're willing to work hard for free. Isn't that a form of slavery?
No, because
What?
I'm willing.
Why not? I mean, well, I'm sure people are willing to work. You're still not getting paid for it. Some people, are working for free just to have something to do.
I mean, slavery are people who are unwilling.
Are they unwilling? Okay, that's interesting because there are a lot of people who were released from slavery and then they kind of didn't know where or to go or what to do and they felt like they had lost a purpose. Now I know that's a completely different scenario, but you're a little thrown off, Shannon. So I have to be a little thrown off with you.
But yes, your life is better now that I'm in it, Honcho.
I'm not going to disagree with that 122%. But if you feel that way, I'm not gonna tell anybody how they should feel. But I'm going to tell you I disagree.
It is.
Because we have these conversations like this. We have these conversations where you say things that nobody wants to hear, even though I know you mean well. I think that, and in the den we speak freely. It's just certain stuff that you have said, certain stories that you have shared. Your personal stories are great. I love them. I find them extremely interesting and entertaining.
They're funny to me.
But it's
I
certain
question
stories.
myself all the time. But it's
there's-
part of who I am completely unique. There is no other like me in the world.
I wouldn't go that far, but
No, there is only one of me.
there's probably a couple of you in the vegetable aisle in some store right now. But my problem is when you start bringing some of your co-stars into your stories. That's when the stories get off. Your personal stories, cool beans. I enjoy
Because
those.
my face
You bring
also is
in
my personal
you
story.
bring some of those other stories that are just like, hey, that's one you can keep in the Shannon lockbox, that we don't definitely need. But yes, we do enjoy having you, Miss Shannon. But as far as life being better, I can't quite say that. Until you find that $10,000 in a hotel and you call me to come pick it up, then we'll wait on that answer. But here's my thing though, right? So you said that it's hard work. So that you're okay with all types of sex work? Is that what you're saying?
Look. My mom has a childhood friend whose name is Ruby. Ruby is a sex worker.
Okay, and what line of
The
sex
only
work?
reason I liked her coming around because she had brought presents.
So Ruby is a
But
prostitute?
Ruby is a one-of-a-kind sex worker
How so?
because you cannot have sex with her for less than $1,000.
I need you to send a picture of Ruby.
I haven't even seen Ruby forever.
No, somebody ain't want to pay that
I wonder what
$1,000.
happened to Ruby.
Ruby got hid somewhere because they wasn't paying that $1,000. Somebody shined that old Ruby.
I haven't seen her since I was 15. She disappeared somewhere. I wonder what happened.
She didn't disappear. She got taken somewhere. So let me tell you something.
She had sex with doctors, firefighters, police officers, judges.
Now, Shannon, you're very nice and you're a very kind person. You kind of you're a very nice person. You're very
She did.
But
Whenever she was visiting, she was wearing a lot of expensive shit.
Okay, I
And
believe
she
it.
had an expensive ass car.
Okay. Where does she live? Does she live in a very nice place?
What?
Does she live in a very nice place?
I don't even know where she lived. I just like the fact that when she visited, she brought a shitload of presents with her.
Do you know if she owned a home or if she just maybe rented an apartment? Do you
As
know?
far as I know, she owned her home.
Okay. So here's my thing, right? And
But I don't know where Ruby is. Though.
Ruby's dead.
Oh, that's
Okay.
sad.
I hate to say it, Shannon. Ruby is no longer with us. somebody felt like that $1,000 wasn't quite worth it, and so they took that out on Ruby. And I hate to be so crass and callous about it, but Ruby is no longer with us. But here's my thing, right? $1,000. Describe Ruby to me the best that you possibly can from what you remember.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter.
It does
She was
matter.
an old hoe, though.
It doesn't matter. I know it does matter. It's very important. So I need
Describe Ruby?
I need you to describe Ruby to the best that you can, because you said when you were 15, right? And right now you are 16.
Ruby was very, I'm going to say she was 5'11". She was pretty tall for a light-skinned lady. She was slim, very curvy, and she loved red. She wore red a lot.
So she was a taller woman,
Yeah, like,
light-skinned woman.
I
who was
haven't
taller.
seen Ruby in forever, though.
You'll never see Ruby again, so don't worry about that. And you said it's been since you were 15. You said since last time you saw Ruby.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're what, 16,
Like I
17
said,
now?
as a child, what?
You're like 16 or 17 now, right?
I'm 28 years old, Honcho. Don't play.
Oh, okay. I must have got you confused with someone else. So that was about 13 years ago, is what you're saying.
Yes.
About 2000 and what is that? What is this? 2019. So 2006.
Yeah. Around there, yeah.
Okay. We've talked about inflation and a lot of things happening since then. So you're saying Ruby was a $1,000 hooker.
Like I said, I can't really think of what Ruby looked like because I haven't seen her in forever.
Okay. Did Ruby have a pimp?
Did Ruby what?
Did Ruby have a pimp?
No, she was self-employed.
She was a renegade, you say? Okay. What kind of car did Ruby drive?
She did not believe that giving her money to a man who ain't doing the work. She believed that if she's gonna do all the work, that the money should come to her.
Well, protection is a motherfucker. That's why Ruby's missing now. So my thing is this: though. What kind of car did Ruby drive?
I don't even remember because, like I said, I ain't seen her in forever. But she had multitude of cars. She didn't just show up in just one car. She had different cars.
Okay. Ruby was renting vehicles. So my thing is this: did Ruby ever encourage you to get into the industry?
No,
And your mom seems like a pretty stand-up lady. Why was she your friends with a prostitute?
she's an old friend, somebody that her and her siblings grew up with. Ruby is an old hoe, for real old hoe.
No, Ruby's a dead hoe. But and so how old was Ruby about the time that you last saw her?
Ruby, my mom's 57, so I say she's around my mom's age.
You said about 67?
My mom is 57 now.
Oh, 57. Okay.
At the time, my mom is like in her 40s.
Okay, so you're saying that doctors, lawyers, firemen, police officers, and entrepreneurs were paying $1,000 for Ruby's vintage coochie back in 2006. This is what you're saying?
Like I said, Ruby has been holding for a long time, even before I was born.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. It's vintage. If she's been going for,
She's a vintage hoe.
hoeing's the best thing going. So she's a vintage vaginal distributor.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. What other encounters have you had with?
Well, Ruby is she's older than my mom, though. So she's probably in her 50s.
Ruby's probably not older than your mom. Ruby is no longer with us. We've established that fact. I did some research. I had my assistant do some research. Ruby is gone. So what other experiences have you had with sex workers, knowing personally?
None, actually.
Okay. Well, how do you feel
Like,
about?
Ruby show up, like, for real, I'm going to be honest. I did not know Ruby was a sex worker until I was older.
How did you find out Ruby was a sex worker?
Because when I was older, like I said, when I got a little older and it was told to us, I always wondered what she did, but I never knew she was a sex worker.
So someone told you when you were older that she was a sex worker.
She says
No, you see, Shantae, why you make that so difficult? Because I asked you, how did you find out? You talking about when you were older. You could have just said somebody told you when you was older.
like I said, she said she's a sex worker. When she didn't put it that way. She said that she is a high class prostitute.
And she said she was a sex worker. Just basically saying
It's the same damn thing. Shit. Prostitute, hooker, brothel host, parking lot host.
No, there's levels to this shit. All right, trash like the fuck for $40 in the club. Ruby was going for
The woman on the phone talking phone sex host. It's the same damn thing.
I don't know. I don't think the phone sex hoe is quite the same. I know some chicks who
Yes,
did.
it is.
No, I know some chicks who did phone sex in college, and these were not women that you would probably want to be engaged with if you saw them in the physical sense. They just had the voices that sounded good for phone sex. Now, if you would have saw them in real life, you'd have been like, "This is what I've been paying $5.99 a minute for. This is hot garbage." So I don't look at them the same because they're not really showing anything. You're playing with the mind. You're selling a fantasy. And Miss Bell, when she talked about the literature, I think that's kind of along the same lines. But I think when you're actually showing something physical, so like the webcams, the Playboys, the physical contact, the people who are
I
stripping.
didn't know she was a sex worker until we got a little older, and when he told us what she did. And then, like I said, she just haven't seen her for years.
Okay. So do you think sex work should be legalized?
Should I be what?
Should sex work be legalized?
Yes and no. Depends. Who is running all these brothels?
That doesn't matter. Should it be legalized? Yes or no, Shannon?
And who's paying all the hoes? Who's signing the checks?
That
And do
doesn't
they get a
matter.
work? And do they get a workers union? Do hoes get?
Shannon, why must you be
Do
so
hoes get
difficult?
a workers union?
Why must you be? I thought you said you're supposed to be the light in my life, Shannon. You make things difficult for me. All these questions are irrelevant. We have to start off with the
These
basics.
are legitimate questions.
No,
You just asked
no,
if
no,
it's
no,
legalized.
But
No.
But
Don't try to change
how?
your mind.
But
Honcho.
listen. But no. 'Cause
If
you're
it
not-
gets legalized,
this-
if it gets legalized, do they get a union?
This is what I'll be saying about women not listening. Shannon is a prime example. So first, we have
If it gets legalized, do they get a union?
But
That's
we
what
have
I
to
want to
decide.
know.
But
Yes
we have
or
to
no?
decide: is it going to be legalized first? You can't say, "Well, we'll think about legal." Well, let's give them unions and all this stuff, and it's illegal. Then we just go arrest them all. So you have to decide whether or not it's going to be legalized before you can form all these other associations. And so, should sex work be legalized? Yes or no? You have to pick one. You can't have both.
No, I don't know. I'm indifferent about that. Some say I'm neutral either way.
You cannot be neutral. Because
am.
because now you're talking about, you can't be neutral about something that is either going to be legal or illegal. So if people are doing it, it's a crime. If people are not or doing it, it can be a viable source of income. So we're asking a question. So would you want Ruby arrested if they found out what she did, or would you want Ruby to be able to remain doing what she's been doing?
Maybe you'll be fine. I mean, she got plenty of police officers that she's been on. They can get her off.
You're terrible, Shannon. You're a terrible person. You've been eating that barbecue and it's ruining your brain. You need to get some Texas barbecue.
I mean, what's the point of fucking police officers if they can't help you out?
That has nothing to do with what I am. What if Ruby is international? Okay, what if she's $1,000 vintage vagina seller? She's not just working in Kansas City, Missouri. Y'all ain't got it like that. So she may be going from state to state. She may not know cops in every state. So if she gets caught up in a sting or a bust or something like that because she's doing something illegal, would you want Ruby to go to jail for what she's doing? Or would you want Ruby to be able to do whatever she's doing freely across the entire country without having to worry about calling a police officer to help her get out of something?
Yeah. No, I don't want Ruby to go to jail.
So you want prostitution to be legalized?
I guess I do. Only because I don't want Ruby to go to jail.
You don't even know where Ruby is. Ruby's dead. So Ruby ain't going to jail. Okay? Now, You making this difficult. That's funny, little baby. You're making this process so much more difficult. So we should be further along in the questioning now. We're still at the very beginning.
If they legalized it, then we'd have to come up with a way for them to safely do these things without being killed.
But how are we going to come up with the way if you don't even know if you want it legalized or not? We can't get to that point until we address whether or not you want it legalized. You can't give me a
Okay,
solid
yes, I
compliment.
want it legalized. God damn it.
How hard was it to say? That's how I'm feeling. God damn it. How hard was it to say now? Okay, so now if it's legalized.
This is why I try to tune out most years.
And
I
that's
just
why,
said yes.
and that's why you don't be saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad you say these things because this is why men look at women the way they do. And then you be the main one talking about men don't want to listen. And see, y'all be trying to tell us this, and you don't even listen to know what to be talking about. We was talking about.
Well, I've told you the truth that I try to tune most of you out.
And that's
because most of y'all sound like y'all try to just tell me what to do.
How is somebody trying to tell you what to do when they're asking you a question?
Not the asking of the question.
I've literally just been asking you a question for like the last 5 minutes.
I said yes. How many times do you want me to say yes?
You only said
yes,
it once.
I do.
I've asked the question.
Okay,
like
I
7
want
times.
prostitution legalized because I don't want Ruby to go to prison.
Okay, so now the 13 times I've asked you, you said yes twice. Finally, thank you. Okay, let's move forward. Now, if we legalize prostitution, should it be a situation where they are licensed and checked upon? Should they have legal requirements such as taxes? Should they be regulated in some sense?
They should be tested on a regular, like every other day. And they should have a license. And they should be... What's the speculations of this license, though? Like, can they only have sex in their state or in all 50 states in U.S. territory?
This is a state license, just like you have a driver's license in your particular state. Now, I'm sure it's respected wherever you may go, even if you're out of state, but you have to have a license in the state in which you're based in, and you can go other places and use it, but you have to be licensed somewhere, and it needs to be regulated somehow.
Oh, this is fine. That's it is. Like I said, they have to be tested on a regular, like they have to be examined out the wazoo and everything every 2 to 3 days.
Every 2 to 3 days?
Yeah, and they have to mandatory drug testing. Yeah, you can't have sick hoes.
I mean, what is the drug testing going to change? You know, some of them might need a little alcohol, little reefer. So are all
you
drugs?
Can't have hoes that are on crack.
No, nobody wants the crack hoes. Well, yes, you can have hoes that are on crack. You don't want to employ.
No, that's not good for business.
But what I'm saying is that
that's bad profit.
There are plenty of hoes that are on crack. If you
want, I know, I see them all the time. That's why I call them the parking lot hoes.
If you want a budget blowjob with bumps, you go get your.
In my neighborhood, all the time. Or I saw a parking lot hoe at a bus stop trying to get a blowjob from dude.
Now you're watching people give blowjobs at bus stops. First you're watching construction workers. Now you have a voyeur fetish.
Like I said, I go into my neighborhood and there's parking lots where crack hoes are hanging out, trying to get sex from dudes that where dudes gather at.
Do you ever go get some sex from the crackheads?
Ew, no.
Why not?
That's disgusting.
Why not? They might be able to teach you a thing or two.
What?
They may be able to teach you a thing or two.
No.
I mean, hey,
I don't even like my sister.
What? Your sister? What does your sister have to do with everything? So, but what did you just say? Your sister?
Yes.
So what does your sister have to do with anything when we're talking about crackhead, hoes, and parks?
I'm talking about my half-sister that I've been talking to for the past couple of years and just met for the past couple of years.
But what does she have to do with it? Is she a crackhead?
I please persist. Yes, she is. And she parking lot.
So why are you talking to her?
What?
So why do you talk to her if you know that she's living a dastardly lifestyle that could be of no benefit
Because
to
she's
you?
my sister.
That's the problem. That's the problem. So why don't y'all start a family business?
I mean, I, I'm not even going to go into it. She's got a whole lot of problems.
Obviously.
Like,
Crack is
she's
one of
from
them.
Kentucky, and she came here,
Oh,
and she...
don't try to talk down on Kentucky like Missouri any better. Come on now, like y'all like on the same page. Y'all look like
No,
blood
I'm not
tears.
talking about bad about Kentucky. I'm just saying that she has a lot of problems, and I try to help her.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna advise you to stop trying to help. You look, Shannon.
I tried to get her to stop. Stop it.
You gotta stop trying to be super saver, Shannon. Okay, like just
Mm-hmm.
you be trying to save people. You don't want to take the
Well, I'm
money
not
from
trying
her.
to save her. I mean, she's older than me.
But if you're trying to help her, you
I
want to
always...
save her.
Because our father is under the impression that my sister will stop hoeing if she is around me. And
Yeah,
that's a bad idea.
yeah, you're not the best role model. Yeah, I don't even.
That is a bad idea.
Yo, that I blame it on the barbecue. I'm gonna be honest with you. This whole situation is.
My father, like I said, my father is under the impression that my sister will stop being a whore if she hangs around her other siblings.
Yeah,
That's a bad idea.
yeah. It's gonna probably be more likely that she gets y'all into the industry than y'all get her out of the industry. That's a tough situation. Miss Shannon, I'm gonna be honest. I have no further questions because this is what I'm saying with the Shannon stories. They start getting real crazy. At least nobody's got stabbed in the conversation this evening. Nobody's got stabbed, jumped, beat up, set up with a okey doke. It's just a little bit of crack.
Look, I don't know how you would feel if you came home and your sister was sucking somebody's dick in your house and she just kept going. Like, I don't know how you would feel on that.
I don't know, Shannon, because this is you we're talking about. You like watching weird shit like that. So
Not that shit.
you probably
Not
enjoy
that
it.
shit.
Come on, Shannon.
Not in my house.
You watch some queers do it, and then you talk about
That's different.
No, it's not. That's all discussing. You're a
That is
watcher.
different.
Man, look, man. Look, anyway, I'm done. I'm done. I have no further questions. Your Honor. Shannon,
Like I said, you don't do that in my house and not in my fucking bedroom either. My bedroom is all fucking limits to anybody. The fuck you think this is?
Did you do it in your bed?
Huh?
Did she do that in your bed?
Does she have a bed? Not in my house, no.
Did she do it in your bed?
She in my fucking room.
She did it in your bed. You probably gotta burn that
Like
whole
I
bed.
said, nobody has sex in my bed but me. My bed is off limits.
Nobody's having sex with my sister but me. Yeah.
My bed is off limits.
No, your bed.
So therefore, I had to put her out.
I'm gonna be honest. Your bed was not off limits. It's been violated.
That's why I got a new bed, and that's why I got padlock on my door.
Yeah, I advise you to do all of that stuff. You got to get you a new sister too. But Miss Shannon, this has been a terrible conversation, and I appreciate you calling in. I will give you your pistachios, but this is what I'm talking about. So you just do things. You tell stories that make my life very bad, and I'm upset.
Not really.
No, really.
I question my own life,
No.
but that's what makes them. I wouldn't be me.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, Miss Shannon. I'm gonna be honest. I think you're a great person. You just have horrible stories to share, but we like hearing them either way. They're just bad stories.
Yeah, I know you like hearing it.
Oh man.
You like being able to have something hold against you and being able to embarrass you. I know you do.
No, we don't want to embarrass you. It's just they're different.
Different.
They're different.
I don't believe that.
Okay. If you
Whatever. Bye.
Yeah, all right. Appreciate it. Good evening.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna be honest. I ain't giving Shannon no damn pistachios. That is, you know. Mm-mm. What is going on? What is this moderator debate that is happening right now? Mm. This is tough stuff. I am Miss Meach. You haven't been here the whole time. Mm. That might be a good thing. That might be a good thing. Whew. I don't know what else to say tonight. Like I'm gonna be honest. After Shannon calls in, I end up stuck. What's the motherfucking deal? Who do we have calling into the den this evening?
Hey, Honcho, how you doing? This is Philip from California.
Hello, Philip from California. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. What would you like to share on tonight's topic, Philip?
Okay, so I have a question first. Do you happen to remember me calling like a few months ago? I only called once.
I think I do. Didn't you call in about like a class assignment or something like that?
Yeah, I asked about the movie. I forgot its name.
Okay.
But it was okay, whatever it is. But I asked that question, and since then I haven't called, so I thought I would, and to kind of talk about sex work.
Okay.
So I thought I'd get my opinion about that. So I want to kind of look at this from two perspectives.
All right.
And the first perspective being an economic standpoint.
Okay.
So looking at other countries that have legalized prostitution, which I assume is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, all forms of, but mainly prostitution. Yes.
Okay. And just looking at countries that have legalized prostitution, we could see that like prostitution generates billions of dollars in revenues. And so it's really a business that occurs in many countries that legalize it. And I want to look at Germany like as perhaps a case study, particularly the city of Bonn. And they have a system in which they have legalized prostitution, and they also have a system that regulates prostitution and also allows the people who are in the prostitution business to pay taxes. Now, before I get into all that, I want to kind of cover like what prostitution is like when it comes to a nation's economy.
Okay.
So you know about GDP, gross domestic product, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so when we calculate GDP, there are two different ways. One is through the expenditures approach and through the income approach. And in the income approach, you calculate GDP by adding rent, wages, interest, and profit, which comes through four different factors of production, which are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Now, I'm going to be looking at the wages part of finding GDP because that's how it's included in the calculation. Now, currently in GDP, prostitution is not calculated, and so are other things like illegal drugs, gambling, and so on. Now, assuming that we were to legalize prostitution, then in that case we would have to find a way to also regulate it. Now, I'm going to revert back to the city of Bonn that has legalized GDP. So they have a system in which prostitutes, before they actually, do the business, they pay a meter, kind of like a parking meter, like in the location they're gonna work at, and then they pay that meter $9. And so after a while, like after about a year, it generates like hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax money. Now, if they don't pay that tax, then they could get a fine of about $100. And it could eventually result in them being banned from working in the sex trade. So that's the system that they have. Now, I'm not saying that we should have to implement it, which kind of brings me to my second point, which I just talked about the economic standpoint and how it could help the economy, but also from a moral standpoint. From a moral standpoint, I don't think that we should legalize prostitution. Now, the reason why is because of several factors. The first one being the kids. Sorry. And if the kids are kind of familiarized with different workplaces and with tuition to colleges being so high up, I feel like as though prostitution could be a route that many people go to, which I don't feel like is ideal. And the reason why I don't think it's ideal is because of a few things. The first one being abortion rates are already high, and I feel like there's no reason for them to go any higher because of this business. The second one is there was a AIDS epidemic in the 80s, and that could reoccur at any given point if they legalize prostitution. And just looking at it all together, it could just be a bad business that many people go to because it could just be the easy way to earn money while also doing it legally. So that is kind of my opinion on that. So I'd say overall it's not best to legalize prostitution.
Okay. So I got a couple of questions for you, Philip, if you don't mind. Okay, so you're saying some of the reasons why you would not support it. Okay, you said the abortion rates, and you were talking about some of the things that were going on in the city of Brun. I find that very interesting. First, let me say thank you for sharing that information because I learned something new about that. So appreciate that about the meter. But like I say, so just to kind of some of the things that you were saying about why you don't think it's a good idea. You talk about abortion rates. So what if it's legalized? Should there be like a mandatory birth control that is added? They have these shots. They have so many different varieties of things. So should that be something that is implemented in the regulation for sex work, that there should be a mandatory level of birth control to avoid, some of these situations? Like you said, I mean, it could be abortion, could be unwanted children being born out of these situations. Do you think that would be a viable option, or is that infringing too much on the people's personal decisions?
So I think that needs to be up to the individual. And what I mean by that is that first, before I go into birth control, I want to talk about STDs. I believe that partners should share their STD results with each other. And then in that case, they can know if the sex will be safe. Now, for women, I believe that they should choose whatever is the appropriate birth control method, whether it be the usage of condoms or whether it would be, I believe, what is called an IUD. And that is something that they can decide on their own.
Okay. Now, you mentioned STDs, AIDS specifically. And I mean, it's not, you can't, the STDs are what they are. But like AIDS, so now they have this PrEP medication thing that's going around that a lot of people are using that is supposed to, if you have AIDS, it's supposed to prevent you from transmitting, and if you don't have AIDS, it's supposed to prevent you from being able to contract HIV, because HIV and AIDS are different. How would you feel about that having to be something that is also implemented into the system if this was to be legalized? Do you think that would help prevent anything, or if it's a situation where you're relying upon a human being to be consistent with their medication, that there's too much room for human error?
Sorry, could you rephrase that question again? I didn't quite hear all the parts.
Okay, so what I was talking about, that there is a medication called PrEP, which is supposed to be a preventative HIV medicine. So if you have HIV and you take that medicine, it's supposed to prevent you from spreading it. And if you don't have HIV and you take it, it's supposed to prevent you from being able to get it. Do you think that that would be a viable option to implement into the system if legalization were to occur, or is that too much room for human error if you're relying on someone to take this medication consistently?
You know what? I feel like whatever individuals feel like is necessary, they should do whatever they feel like is right. And if that's a viable option, then they should surely use it as a way to prevent STDs.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions?
No, sir, Philip. I thought you presented a well put together and logical argument, and I appreciate you sharing that. So, I definitely like to hear from you more often, man. That was a great call.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Shout out to Philip from California. Hey, everybody in California ain't bad, y'all. I think the media is giving us a false representation of California. We'll take one more call before it's all said and done, because I didn't say it before that call. I was actually on time tonight. I had the stream started within like 30 seconds, so don't give me none of that nonsense. I didn't even take no Honcho hiatus on y'all. So shout out to Philip. I don't know where Terrence is, but shout out to Philip. And that was a great call. I want to hear more from Philip more often. Philip's way better than DeMarque. I think if Philip calls in a couple more times, we may end up giving him DeMarque's wrench, because I like Philip. So I'm with it. I'm with that. Mixer action tonight? I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I've been maybe tomorrow night, because like I said, and I want to make sure I tell you, make sure y'all are fucking with Den Show podcast, because I'm going to do probably about 1 p.m. tomorrow. I'm gonna do an audio, a live podcast. So make sure you go to Den Show podcast, because there will be a chat for that. It won't be the YouTube connected chat or anything like that, but there is a chat for that. So if you want to participate in the live podcast tomorrow, audio only, it'll be at denshowpodcast.com. So make sure you're there for 1 p.m. tomorrow. So it won't be a stream Den tomorrow, but it will be an audio Den at 1 p.m. tomorrow. I'm going to test it out, see how it works. And if it goes well enough, then we might make it a regular thing. We'll see how that goes. I gotta get some. I still ain't sent that information to fucking Spotify, and I gotta see what's going on with some of that other stuff. So there's that. But yeah, probably won't do the mixer action. If I do, it'll be like tomorrow night, because I don't plan on doing anything early on Sunday. And I've been kind of, I won't say avoiding the games of late, but I used to keep the box down here in the garage and everything just to jump into it. But I took everything out of here because I'm trying to focus more on creating some better stuff. I've been looking at some spots. Gonna be, like I said, relocating soon. Oh yeah, Baker man, I might need your assistance about maybe mid to early September. I'll let you know. I'll hit you up on the line. I'm just saying that because you're here now. But yeah, going to be relocating. Like I said, once everything gets situated with the relocation and everything like that, and I'm going to go full steam for it, but it's going to be no more garage action. So you don't have to worry about that. I don't think we'll have the same signal problems. And I expect just to take this content to the next level. So like I said, there'll be a lot of testing, a lot of changing, a lot of trying different things over the next few weeks, couple of months or so, here and with the sauce. And I guess we'll make that the last call. We'll make Philip the last call, so anybody else calling in. And so make sure you make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. Den Show Live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. Tomorrow, no 1 p.m. stream, but it'll be 1 p.m. on denshowpodcast.com. We will be back tomorrow at 10 p.m. Central. Make sure you're here. I'll be on time. I'll try my best. Den Show Podcast. Make sure you go there, okay? Den Show Podcast. Make sure you're there. Don't miss it. Den Show Shop. Go get you a Den Show shirt. Never see a hater in real life. Make sure you go get you one of them. You want you some of that Den merch. Shout out to everybody who's copped some Den merch, man. I sincerely appreciate that. Hope y'all rocking that in public and telling your people about the Den. Call the Den at any time, 833-284-3336. If you want to support the Den and you want to make a one-time donation to the Den, you go to streamlabs.com/The Den Show. If you want to pledge to the Den on a monthly basis, shout out to all the Patreon supporters. Shout out to James, Tina Starry-Eyed, Dan, Diana, Betty Spaghetti, Miss Grace, Goya, and Donald Trump. I appreciate all of you having faith in the long-term success of this community. Like I said, as we continue to grow, I told you I've been looking at, I think the next major purchase is going to be a camera. Let me do a few minutes of ranting for a second before I wrap it all up. The next major purchase is going to be a camera. I'm not super, I don't want to say adept at, it's going to be something to learn because I'm not going to lie, like for the last couple of months, I've been looking at different cameras and trying to understand mirrorless versus DSLR. And then they have some new technologies that have come out, trying to see what's best. And it's little bitty nuances. I don't really know if it really matters that much, but I know that I think the mirrorless are more, I won't say future-proof, but that's kind of where a lot of them are going. But there's certain advantages to DSLR, certain advantages to mirrorless. But mainly, like I said, I want to be able to start kind of getting up out of the garage. Well, I mean, we ain't going to be in the garage permanently. In a couple of months, that'll change. But I want to start doing some different stuff, taking the Den on the road, taking, sauce on the road. So I'm going to be looking, within the next maybe few weeks to months or so to make a solid purchase on the camera. Maybe a beginner level camera. I don't want to, to learn it and then maybe make some upgrades after that. But, to bring some variety of content. I think I would like to definitely test my skills out in public, in person with random people. I think that would be very nifty because I enjoy it. I get a good feel for most of you in the Den, especially after you called in a couple of times. So I definitely want to see, I want to test my skills in the streets. And I saw somebody ask earlier, would I be worried about somebody getting mad? Or if I think Bro Lee said that. He said, no, give a shit about that. Come on, man. That would be a very bad decision on their behalf. But yeah. And then, like I said, I got to maybe find somebody to hold the camera. I know Unbeaten said he might be interested. I got to see what side of town focused on. But I definitely like to start adding some of that to the repertoire. I think that'll be pretty cool. I think that would be very, very cool. Yes, follow on Instagram. Me and all 20 of my Instagram followers, even though 3 of them are probably my other Instagram accounts. But so it is what it is. Tell a friend about the Den, man. Tell a friend about the Den. So what y'all in here talking about? Yeah, let's see. Oh, we might talk about Area 51 tomorrow night. We might do a Supernatural Saturday. It's been a while since we've done that. We gotta see what's going down. Nah, I see that. Nah, we ain't finna. We're not going to Area 51. We going. Well, technically, I guess we would be going closer to Area 51. Which way is Nevada? That way. So yeah, we probably would be actually going a little bit closer to Area 51. I seen that too, Miss Meat. And so I'll just be hacking into your pistachio account. If you come up a little light, blame it on DeMarkey. So there's that. I'm just trying to catch up with what I may or may have missed. Apparently Shannon is having a orgy. She's having special invites into her bed. I don't know what's going on with that. So if you're looking forward to that, make sure you holler at Shannon and get you one of those invites. Apparently she has a slave costume that she's going to wear at that party. Do in real life? Nah, because then that's going to be road rage, and then I'm going to jump out and fight some little Mexican woman. Then y'all going to be mad at me. Everybody going to be like, this nigga Honcho. I'll be looking like Tommy Sotomayor when he got crazy with that black chick, but he ain't want no smoke with when any of them niggas was trying to whoop his ass. But nah, I don't want y'all to see me yelling at small Hispanic women. So, there's that. that's about all I got. That's about all I got. Yes, we're gonna start using the quote system. I've never used it because I'm like it's no big deal. But I'm gonna start saving some of these great quotes. There's been some great quotes that I have missed that I wanted to save, and I didn't never really know how to use the system, so no big deal. But I will definitely start saving them now. So funny jokes and humorous. Yeah, that's cool. The humorous things will definitely go. Well, now it's become quote 0. So it'll now be quote 0 to be the top. 'Cause I had a test quote in there, and then that was a great quote. Should I put that? I guess I should put the name who I should attribute that to, but maybe another time. So with that being said, I guess that's it for tonight, folks. Appreciate y'all for coming through. I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, you late, Miss Meat. I was on time today. I was on time. It wasn't even no waiting for the song all along and everything. So yeah, I'm on time. 2 hours and some change, and Miss Meet you late, or excuse me, Angela. Angela. That's your appropriate phone name. You don't call nobody talking about, it's me. I'm here to call for the job. No, you say this is Angela. I heard that you guys were inquiring. Or does your teacher address you as Miss Meat? No. So I ain't calling you. I'm calling you Angela. But with that being said, man, I appreciate all y'all. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Again, make sure you don't miss it. Den Show Podcast. 1 p.m. Central tomorrow. I'm gone. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. I'm out. All that good shit. So, matter of fact, I gave Miss Bell hers. I don't know Philip from California's name, so I don't have. I can't give him his 1,000 pistachios. So, Philip, text the line and let me know your screen name so I can give you your pistachios, so that people can't fraudulently claim your pistachios. I'll just put it with the number. Ruby's gone. Don't look for Ruby. It's a wrap for Ruby. Ruby is at Area 51. So Shannon, if you want to go look for, you want to join the search party, I guarantee you she's there. So just slide over there. You'll find her. Shout out to Wise, man. I'm out.